to more pressing and more important news. My next guest joins us to talk about the scarcity of support teachers in Tasmanian public schools. There is the latest AEU, Australian Education Union, survey. Joining me to chat more about it is AEU President David Genford. G'day, David. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm well, thanks. How are
That's
you?
good. I'm good, mate. What did we find with this latest AEU survey?
Yeah, we wanted to get in touch with our members and see what the actual data is on the ground in regards to supporting students. And we had 43% of our members say that their in-class support has actually reduced from last year, and we only had 17% say it increased. So when we see that kind of numbers from how the teachers are feeling, that's concerning numbers for us.
So were you surprised by those results?
I was, because there has been an increase in funding, in some funding from the government. But when you look at what's happening in schools at the moment, we've also seen increases in trauma, especially through this COVID period. And we're also seeing an increase in the learning difficulties and the complexity of some of our students at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Now, what does the reduction in support teacher time mean for teachers and also students? How does it affect them?
Well, if teachers aren't getting that in-class support, and we're looking a lot from a teacher assistant perspective, that means that they need to be focused on those students and aren't able to support the whole class. So it's actually not only the students with learning difficulties that will suffer, it's also students that are in the class that when the teacher's taken away to help them, they're not getting the support as well. So it really does affect all our students, and that's one of the reasons why we'd like to see that an increase to that funding to help make sure that all our students are getting the best support they can have.
So why is this scarcity happening? Is it just funding?
Well, it often is, but often it can be because the students haven't been diagnosed, and so we need professional support staff, psychologists, social workers, speech therapists, occupational therapists to help actually diagnose these students so they can get the funding as well. So we're seeing a lot of wait lists. We're hearing of 18 months to 2 years in some cases for an ADHD diagnosis or to see a speech pathologist. And what that means is that those students aren't funded and don't have the support in the classroom. So for us, it's those students that can really impact on the teachers who see that this student needs my help just as much as a student who does have a diagnosis. But because they can't get in to see those professional specialists, we don't have that funding and we can't provide the support that they need for them.
So what needs to happen then, David? How do we fix this?
Well, the government's just announced an increase into the family and childcare centres for an extra 9 psychologists, and we'd like to see a similar type of thing happen in our primary schools and high schools. At the moment, the ratio for psychologists is about 1 to 900 students, and the research shows that you need to have a number closer to 1 to 500 to have the impact that's required in our schools. So we really think that focus on increasing the psychologists and social workers would be a great thing. The one more thing is for our teacher assistants. Often, they are only employed for 40 weeks of the year, and some can access up to 43 weeks, but that means for 9 weeks of the year, these people are basically unemployed. They're stood down. And if we want the best teacher assistants in the classroom to give that support, we want them to be recognised and actually respected by the government in that regards too.
Yeah. Okay. Can you just clarify for me? So we're talking there are support teachers, and then there's teachers' assistants, and then psychologists come under the support services part. So we were saying that we don't have enough people in those specialist areas like psychologists to cover the need in the education department. Is that right?
Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing because technically a support teacher is a different role entirely. Who's the people that kind of leads the planning for those students. But we're talking about 2 different things. One is the professional support staff, the psychologists and social workers, etc. And we need to see an increase there. But then we also have the international term is education support personnel, who's your teacher assistants, laboratory technicians, library technicians, all those type of people that help make the school run. And it's the teacher assistants that are the ones that aren't paid for a year round, and really because they're stood down during the holidays, they can't even access things like unemployment benefits because they're not unemployed for long enough. So it becomes really difficult for those people who are already paid very, very lowly as well. So it's something that we think really needs addressed so that we can maintain those quality teacher assistants in schools.
So you'll be lobbying now with the government to try and get this somehow changed or worked out somehow?
Yeah, it's something we'll continue talking to the government, and there's about to be a review into how some of the disabilities are actually assessed in schools as well, which we'll be a part of, and we encourage that review. But definitely we need to look at that the funding as a whole, especially when it comes to trauma and when it comes to learning difficulties, so that our students can get the best outcomes.
Okay. David Genford, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Cheers. Thanks, John.
David Genford there, AEU President. If you have your thoughts on these issues, perhaps you are a support teacher or a teacher's assistant or someone in the support services like a psychologist who works in these schools or is aware of the lack of staff to meet this demand, you can give us a call. Let us know your thoughts. 1300 222 936 or send us a text on 0438 922 936. It is an issue. There's obviously a demand there, and people like teachers' assistants, I guess, are being are being asked to look after some of these kids that are either diagnosed or don't have the specialist support they need in the meantime. And they're not necessarily these teachers' assistants, I guess, trained. That's what we're hearing anyway.